With Tony Khan taking a shot at the co-CEO of WWE and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. According to Sean Ross Sapp, a Fightful, the returns of Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae to WWE have been positively received by higher-ups. One WWE source said that Gargano remained on most in WWE's good side all the way through his contract expiring, not signing a new deal, and even free agency. We're told that he'd made it clear to WWE that he would return on his time frame, and they were happy to follow that. Several NXT sources said that Gargano handled his exit from the company with incredible professionalism, mentioning that he went out of his way to work with and get over young talent like Austin Theory and Indy Hartwell, while helping to establish Dexter Lumis. It was well known within NXT that Gargano took pride in this, especially since he knew that he would be taking time off in December as far as a year ahead of his deal expiring. We're told that Gargano and Candice LeRae were talking to the major companies in the month prior to Johnny rejoining WWE, though we weren't given much context outside of the Impact Wrestling didn't seem to be a serious consideration. When Vince McMahon lost power, several within the company had indicated to Fightful that they felt way more confident that Gargano would be heading back to WWE. They believed that Triple H being in power was a tipping point that accelerated the move. Several times, even before Triple H took power, there was interest in bringing Gargano to the main roster. On Busted Open Radio, former WCW President Eric Bischoff talked about the recently deceased Antonio Inoki and touched on his relationship with Muhammed Ali. Of course, Bischoff, Inoki, and even Ali worked together for a pro wrestling show in North Korea, and Ali and Inoki had their famous fight as well. Bischoff said, "I thought it highly unlikely that I would be able to resurrect that relationship because it was hostile, but one of the things that I think helped turn the corner is I got a call from Brad Rangitz. Brad was the American liaison and worked with Masa Saito, but Brad called me and said Mr. Inoki is coming to Denver and he'd really like to become reacquainted with Muhammad Ali. The year before, I'd done some business with Muhammad Ali and we became, I don't want to say friends, but friendly. I could call. I could talk to his wife. And when Brad called and said Antonio would be in Denver and would like the opportunity to become reacquainted with Muhammad Ali, I called his wife. Said, here's the situation. And the next thing you know, I'm in a hotel room in Denver with Antonio Inoki and Muhammad Ali, seeing each other for the first time since that fight." Talking about potential rivalries for him in WWE, Drew McIntyre told my San Antonio, "Anyone who gets in my way, to be honest, but I've always wanted to have a feud with Braun Strowman. It is a simple story to tell with two big guys, but there is more depth to it than that. The visual of Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman. I'm 6'5", 275, and he makes me look like a smaller guy. How exciting and impressive that match would be, but I also know how the story could be compelling. You have two superstars who got let go from the company only to come back and try to reprove themselves." When asked about the possibility of cashing in his Money in the Bank contract at a WWE house show, Austin Theory mentioned to Bleacher Report, "I mean, anything can happen in WWE. That's been said a lot of times. I feel like, who knows? Why would it not happen? It has to happen eventually, right? Somebody has to do it. And why not me? Somebody who makes these headlines, these achievements, the youngest United States champion, the youngest Mr. Money in the Bank, and the man that could cash in at a live event. Who knows?" During an interview with Wrestle Rant, Theory touched on having his first name back in WWE, saying, "I actually like Theory. I really do like it. I really feel like if somebody was to look up WWE and look up Austin, we all know that Stone Cold is probably going to pop up. I'd rather you put Theory WWE. There's only one. So for me, I personally really enjoy being Theory." Unfortunately for some stars ahead of Monday Night Raw, they appear to be injured, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted. We're told one wrestler is supposed to be sent to the trainer's room and another using a walking boot. Speaking of Raw, another QR code was dropped during the show as WWE analyst Ryan Satin wrote, "So the White Rabbit QR code on Raw this week leads to an image with one side shown on mobile and another on desktop for me. That gives the URL to this site. The story of the Samson painting. Chosen by God, Samson was blessed with superhuman strength that made him invincible as long as the hair on his head remained unshorn. When he told this secret to his Philistine wife Delilah, he was captured and blinded and his hair was cut. He regained his strength as soon as his hair grew back, and he was able to destroy the Philistine temple, killing 3,000 Philistines." With Max Dupri teasing a split from the Maximum Male models and a return to his former persona LA Knight, it's been reported PWInsider.com has confirmed that, as some of you may have suspected, he will indeed be back as LA Knight ASAP. Internally, he is already back to being listed as such on the company's internal roster, so he'll be back in his former NXT gimmick going forward. We are told that the Maximum Male models group with Mason Mansour are currently slated to continue on with Maxine Dupri. With Cody Rhodes currently out of action recovering from a torn pec, many are pegging him to return at the Royal Rumble to make a run for the world title. With this in mind, Fightful recently reported that numerous sources in WWE who said that at the time that Cody Rhodes sustained his injury, Vince McMahon had not solidified plans to make Cody Rhodes the WWE or Universal Champion. The report would go on to note that McMahon was all on board for Reigns to becoming double champion, and that there were no ideas floated around from Vince that would have indicated he was ready to move on from that this summer. With Robbie Fox of Barstool recently interviewing AEW President Tony Khan, he asked those online to submit questions. Barstool Sports' Dave Portnoy wrote, "When he got Barstool Van Talk canceled, why did he then invite me to sit next to him at a fight at MSG as his guest and pretend that I didn't know he was responsible? Did he think I was stupid or that I'd just forget, or is he just that two-faced?" Of course, Portnoy was confused and meant to say Nick Khan, who had filed a complaint on behalf of a client against Portnoy over allegations of misogyny, which led to Barstool's deal with ESPN getting canceled and the show in question getting canned after one episode. Portnoy then wrote, "Quick correction, I got the wrong Khan. Tony we like. Nick is the guy who is full of carry on." Tony Khan would respond, "Two more different people we could not be. Here's to not being two-faced." Reacting to Saraya's debut in AEW, SoCal Val mentioned this during an interview with Just Alex. "I hope she doesn't wrestle, unless it's super safe and approved for doctors. And I say that because fans are just so in love with these characters like Edge, for example. I just sit there thinking you can be in love with a character and in love with a wrestler, but you should want them to wrestle only if they're physically able to do so, and it's not going to cause any problems down the line. So, for her own health's sake, I hope she only does it if it's definitely something she should be doing, and she's very smart. They would never rush her into doing it, and she would never rush into doing it, but I wouldn't want to see it unless it's 1000% safe for her." Talking to NBC Sports Boston about title reigns in WWE, Raquel Rodriguez mentioned that it's bittersweet, you know. You get a taste, I hate to quote Nacho Libre at this time in my life, but you get a taste of a piece of the glory. We have women from all over the world, from all over the country, from different backgrounds and different ethnicities. I think having an Intercontinental Championship, having a North American Championship for the women would be something. Just a huge leap forward for the women's division in wrestling in general. Talking to Wrestling Inc. about when the Elite might be seen in AEW again, Dave Meltzer said, "I have no idea what time frame. I'm sure they'll be, I shouldn't even say I'm sure, but I expect that they'll be back. I don't know. Will they be back in a week, a month? I have no idea, and I don't think anyone really knows. I think there's just a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are kind of prolonging this, whether it's a legal thing, whether it's threats of lawsuits or whatever, that they're kind of treading on thin ice and not wanting to make any moves just yet." With AEW promoting the Young Bucks line of sneakers on social media, Meltzer noted, they didn't promote it on television, and it didn't matter because it sold out instantly. But I mean, the original thing was to promote it hard on television, and that didn't happen at all. So I think that they're willing to go in social media to a degree. Look, they haven't mentioned their names on television once, and I think it's awkward as a viewer. When Punk was the world champion, and then we all watched him win the world title, and now his name is never mentioned, and all of a sudden Moxley's the champion after having lost to Punk. It's one of those things that hurts a promotion, so they've got to kind of get past that. It's just one of those tough situations. Every promoter will go through them many times in their life, but this was one of them. During an interview on My Mom's Basement, Tony Khan mentioned how he wants to feature Paul Wight more on AEW shows. Paul, seeing him up and around has been great. Paul Wight is such an awesome presence in pro wrestling, and when he's healthy and can be on the shows again, I want to feature Paul. Unfortunately, a lot of his time in AEW has been hurt. He's great on commentary when he's able to travel. I think that's something. He has a great future, quite frankly. I think he's worked really hard at it and deserves opportunities there. So I have a lot of great things to say about Paul Wight. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.